Okay, we'll call the meeting to order and ask if there's disclosure of interest.
Yes.
6G. Okay, and that is because you were on that board. All righty, thank you. Any other disclosures of interest? No, okay. We have an agenda, a resolution to adopt the agenda as amended with the following additions. 6I, email from Mark Schweitzer regarding the museum board vacancy, and 11BJ, which notification about the highway restriction, Highway 588 at Kaministiquia River South Bridge. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The first deputation we have is the Northwest Arena Public Skating. I'm not sure if Sabrina Ree is here. I do not see her, so we will move to the next one. We have a multi-purpose, a proposed multi-purpose shelter for the Oliver Papoonge Heritage Park, and I do see some of the board members here, so if you'd like to come forward, will you come in with your presentation? Yes, please, because no one can hear you online unless you have the little green light on.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's nice to be here. With me is Charlie Brown, who is president of the Buddies of the Brill. And most of you know that the Brill buses did move to the Heritage Park earlier in 2023, and we're on display for that year. So what we're here to do today is to talk to you a little bit about a concept that we developed as we were discussing possible alternatives for protecting the Brill buses during the winter months. And as we started talking about it, we wanted to make sure that any type of facility that was erected or any way that we protected it fit in with the ambience of the park and help to move the park forward. So originally, the concept was to put up a canvas Quonset type building, which we all felt didn't really fit with what we wanted to do at the park. But the more that we spoke, we thought of a pole barn pavilion, which would be a pole barn with open sides on it, and that we could use that for a number of reasons. One being obviously to protect the buses during the winter, and perhaps put canvas on the sides or tarps or whatever if necessary. And also then to be able to use it as a meeting place if we had special occasions during the opening hours during the summer. People could meet in there. If somebody was having a special event in there, that could be the central focus, and we could put picnic tables or chairs or whatever we wanted in it. The building would be approximately 44 feet long by 38 feet wide. It's not, we don't propose to build anything more than we really need. And we feel that with the space that we had in the Duke Hunt Museum or the Slate River Hall, that was a meeting place previously, that this now could replace that because the Duke Hunt Museum is now in the Slate River Hall. We thought that the building, and I'm just going by some educated or semi-educated guesses, we thought that the building with the necessary engineering approval could run us in the neighborhood of $60,000. So we did put a sort of a tentative budget there to sort of outline the different types of expenditures that we might see. If you look at the pictures, you can see just a mock-up of what the building might look like with the buses in and with the buses removed, and the pavilion being used as a meeting place in the summer months. The purpose of this proposal is that we feel, well, actually before the purpose of it, we feel that going into 2024, we have a number of special events that we have on our plan. And they run anywhere from classic car days to, we have a special event there in June where we're going to be hosting our vintage sports car rendezvous from Americans and from Manitoba and Saskatchewan kind of thing. But we have 6 of them planned, and they were in our strategic plan that we gave to you earlier. So what the purpose is that we would like to move forward to see if this is a viable thing. We're not coming here to ask for money, but we do want to make sure that we're all on the same base in terms of us moving forward. What we would do next is we would look at the various possibilities in terms of funding. We put down the Ontario Trillium Foundation. We've spoken with Buddies of the Brill as a possibility of sharing some of the costs on this. And if we feel that there are funding, or there is funding that we could get, then we certainly would come back to you and give you our opinion as to whether we should go forward. If it is positive and we do want to go forward, then obviously the arrangement that we have with the Buddies of the Brill would have to be re-looked at, and certainly an arrangement in terms of costing. And if they should decide that they want to leave, then we would have to have certain clauses in the arrangement for that. But basically, we're just looking for your blessing for us to move forward and see whether this could be a viable thing.
Okay. Is there any questions of any of the councillors because there is a resolution that will be forthcoming on this building. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you, through the chair. Just wondering, when you say that the construction costs $40,000, what is it like? Is going to be a poured floor, or is it going to be gravel like the patch that is there right now that the buses are sitting on? Like what type of?
Our concept at this point would be a recycled asphalt floor. So it would have posts in it. The posts would have to be done, obviously, to meet engineering standards. They may have to be put on, screw piles or whatever, but we haven't gone to the engineering part of it yet. But our thought at this point would be the recycled asphalt for the flooring, and it would be tamped down. So that would be, we don't want to go to cement or anything like that, but we would like to have some further protection other than just having a sand or a gravel flooring.
And what would be the reason for the electricity there?
Yeah, we would like to have electricity there for lighting. If we had some patio lighting or whatever, there may be a need for a loudspeaker, or there may also be a need for, if somebody was using it, whether they want to have coffee pots or they want to have their own food or whatever, that would be the purpose of it.
And one more question, how much does it cost to move those buses in and out? Do we as a municipality take our equipment down there to pull the buses out, like back and forth each season?
Well, the municipality gave us a hand when we moved them in, which was nice, but the buses move pretty freely, so we can either do it ourselves or with a piece of small of equipment, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Viss?
Just a comment, I think. Just a comment, when I look at the next step, I think with seeing that in place here, I don't have any problem with them letting them go ahead, because all they're saying, they give us the ability to raise funds and research to see what's going on. So I think what they're asking for here today, you have my blessings. I have no problem with that at all.
Any other questions? Councillor Kemphoff?
Yeah, and also not really a question, just a comment. It sounds like a good idea and certainly worth investigating. So yeah, good luck.
Okay, so it is coming back to us as we go into the meeting. You're welcome to stay. And it's a very good presentation. Very well written. Thank you. Our next item on our deputations is Mr. Jay Lewis is here from the Acquisition and Government Relations for the Brothers in regards to proposed 80-meter self-support tower on Pole Line Road. And I see Mr. Lewis is here via online. Good evening.
Good evening. How's
So
it
we'll
going?
let you, oh, you're mute right now. Are you going to?
Can you hear me now?
Is it okay?
Hello?
Okay. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear us, but we cannot hear Mr. Lewis.
It shows that my mic is on.
Second set. Go down one.
Hello?
There we are. We can hear you
There we
now.
go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
No, it was on our end. So thank you for coming, Mr. Lewis, and the floor is yours.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I apologize for not coming up in person. Just had a little bit of back problems and wasn't a way I was going to sit in an airplane and fly up there. So hopefully we can go through this presentation. Do you want me to share my screen? Would that
Certainly.
work best? Okay.
Make it a little louder, Judy, or not?
Okay, I'm going to need you to allow me to share my screen then, if that's okay.
Right at the very bottom, see the microphone where you can make it louder, right way at the bottom?
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Is it possible that you can allow me to share my screen?
Not working?
Oh, it's working now.
There, yeah, move it up to 100, please. Thank you. Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. My
That's
name
good.
is Jay. I work for Forbes Brothers on behalf of T-Baytel. We do the site acquisition as well as the public permitting process for new sites. So T-Baytel is very excited for a proposed site in Oliver Papoonge to get better service through the area. So there's a lot of slides here. I'll try moving through them as quickly as possible so I don't take up too much of your time, but we're going to take a look at the network, the site details, photo renderings, and the consultation process, and if there's any questions. So I'll try to move this through as quickly as I can. And please interrupt me if there's any questions along the way. So one of T-Baytel's objectives is to provide continuous coverage throughout an area. And if you take a look at this slide, the bottom left-hand corner, you can see where there's 3 cell towers that would be providing continuous coverage of an area so that when you move from one cell to the next, you don't experience any dropped calls or interrupted service. What happens is that the more users on a network, the actual cell coverage shrinks, and we need to put new cell sites in between them. Or there's other chances in a rural area where there just isn't existing service out there because a signal can only travel so far. So what the last picture in the bottom right-hand corner is where new cell sites have been added, so that users, when they travel throughout an area, ensure to have a continuous service or coverage. So T-Baytel has a number of existing sites in Oliver Papoonge. There's a site over in Kakabeka Falls, one up in Murillo, and one over in Roslyn. Now, this used to provide great coverage, for the area. Cell service has been around for almost, 40 years or more. And we started when it was just analog, not digital. We were just making phone calls, and now you have texting and streaming data. So it's very data heavy. And so what happens is more users, smaller the coverage area. So a good way to demonstrate or illustrate for others to understand the coverage of each cell site is through coverage maps. So this coverage map you'll see that there's a color classification where you have green, where you have great indoor coverage. So that's where you have a very strong signal strength. Over distance or due to terrain, the signal strength can diminish for outdoor coverage or fringe coverage or no coverage. So there's an ultimate reach of how far the signal can stretch. So you can see in this coverage map where we have great coverage coming from Kakabeka Falls, Morelos, and Roslyn, and the signal diminishes as it goes further away. And what we have is we have coverage areas that have interrupted, signals, dropped calls, or to be able to download and view videos, you have to have the strong signal strength. So one of the objectives for TBATEL is to identify locations, build a new site, take care of this. So we did identify a location on Pole Line Road, and we are proposing 80-meter self-support tower. Now, where we are proposing it, as you can see in this new coverage map, is that we've filled up, and I'll kind of toggle back and forth between the two. Instead of having that red, yellow area where you have poor cell signal, this will improve coverage in the area. It'll fill in the coverage between Kakabeka Falls and Morelos, out towards Roslyn, and even south past the Cam River. During the public consultation process that we're in, there was a question whether or not we could look at alternate sites. Originally, when we first looked for a new site, it was going to be down and around the Trans-Canada Highway, but whether or not a site up near the hydro corridor would be near the mining road. So TBATEL did create one more coverage map for a similar sized tower, and I'll toggle between the two, and you can see how that shifts coverage. Now, this is important to note because just moving it that little bit, about a kilometer and a half, it can pull open a coverage area that would have been between this site and Roslyn. It does improve coverage to the northwest, but it also pulls the coverage south from River Road and the Cam River. So originally, when we started looking for a new site to improve the coverage in the area, we were looking down at the Trans-Canada Highway west of McFarland Road. When we started looking more into the details of it and running some coverage plots, we identified that we should actually perhaps look up at Pole Line Road, where it's Pole Line and an unnamed road, and that we would actually get better coverage from that location for the area that we're trying to improve. So this is the area that we were looking at, Pole Line Road. And the yellow boundaries are the different property boundaries here. We did reach out to the property owners where there either wasn't an interest or an agreement could not be reached. So those are the two red areas that are shaded. We want to identify a property that would be, set back away from other residents to propose a tower. And we did finalize on a tower that's shown there. And there's some distances set back there. So where we're proposed to have it is about 145 meters from the residence to the west, 180 meters to the residence to the southwest, as well as 345 meters from the east. So well removed from residents there. So this is another enlarged picture of where it's going. One interesting thing to note is that when we first discussed with the property owner a location for the tower here on the subject property, we were contemplating having it adjacent or beside Pole Line Road. But due to the proximity to the neighbor to the south, we did a little pre-consultation and discussed with the one neighbor, and they had advised that that location may be too close. And we looked at perhaps having it on the north side of the barn or at the location where it's proposed. And while they weren't in favor, they were strongly opposed to having a tower in the area, that the proposed location would have been the least obtrusive location for them. Now, this is an image where we have the site plan overlaid. So the proposed tower would be set back from Pole Line Road by about 85 meters. We would utilize the existing access road to access the site, and there's hydro that already goes past the site that we would connect to. The 80-meter self-support tower would be within a 15 by 15 meter area, and it'd be fenced off. So the site detail. So we're proposing an 80-meter self-support tower, which is a lattice where it's wider at the base, tapers towards the top of the tower. It does not require any guide wires, and the equipment installed on the tower will be for cellular as well as wireless internet services. The tower will also allow co-location. So if the township or a third party would like to put equipment on the tower, TBTL is receptive of that. The location of the tower is greater than 4 kilometers from Quebec Falls Aerodrome. So the tower should not require any aeronautical lighting. So it won't have that red light during the day or red light during the night, or the white light during the day will not be required. As I previously mentioned, it will be a 50-meter by 50-meter chain link fence area to prevent public access. And there's an equipment shelter at the base of it. This here is just a photo rendering of the proposed tower from Pole Line Road to the east. So then the federal authority on this. So the federal government has exclusive jurisdiction over radio communication and telecommunication under the Radio Communication Act. There is Innovation, Science, Economic Development Canada is the federal agency that regulates it, and they have a policy that we follow where it lays out the municipal and public consultation process that we have to follow. It also outlines other general requirements such as having the site assessed by Transport Canada and Canada, as well as it complying with Health Canada Safety Code 6. So their default public consultation requires us to notify anyone within 3 times the height of the tower. So that means anyone within 240 meters of the tower would receive a mail notification. It would be advertised or published in the public or in the local paper and allows for 30 days for comments. So that is what would be required by ISED at the federal level. There's no public information required. However, Oliver Papoonge has created their own protocol, which is what we are following. What we have had to go through so far is that we had to send in a justification package stating why the tower is required, a site plan, identify the nearest dwelling, the consultation requirement that towers less than 16.6 within 100 meters of a residential zone would require public consultation, and towers greater than that but within 300 meters would require a public consultation. So we are going through the community consultation right now. We're actually just wrapping it up. We had to mail notification to any residents within 300 meters of the proposed tower. I apologize, 300 meters from the property line was used. So a lot of people were notified, over notified, because we actually only had to notify within 300 meters of the tower and not the property line. In total, 19 unique residents were notified, and a public notice was put in the Chronicle Journal. We were holding a public information session, which I had said if we were following ISEDs, we would not be required to. And then the comments are to be recorded, provided to the municipality with how the concerns were addressed. Then the planning department prepares a report summarizing the consultation process, and will seek your direction to what to provide to ISED, either concurrence or non-concurrent. So a consultation update. We did the mail notification. 19 unique property owners were mailed a notification or an information package that had all the details. Before we held the public meeting, there's initial correspondence with a couple of the property owners because we asked them to register ahead of time. At the public meeting, there's 8 people that attended, only 7 signed the sheets. 3 of the attendees there were short radio operators. Just wanted to mention that because they weren't residents that lived in the immediate area, but they had an interest in wanting to get short radio equipment added to the tower if it was possible. Of the other residents that were at the public meeting, Two of them are from two properties that either supported or were in favor of the tower. And then there's two property owners or properties that had health and aesthetic concerns. There's correspondence after the public meeting where we received follow-up emails from the two property owners that had concerns. We provided responses to them and have had a lengthy correspondence with one of the property owners. We also received one other email from residents who didn't attend the public meeting, but had concerns that the property value would be diminished as well as health concerns. So health and safety is very important. The FO supporting PBTEL, which adheres to the Health Canada Safety Code 6. ISUD requires that the RF EMFs, which is electromagnetic frequencies that transmit from these towers, that they comply and fall below Health Canada's exposure limits, and they've made compliance with this mandatory. If there's any changes in these guidelines or limits, the health sites have to comply. They are not grandfathered in. ISID adopted Health Canada Safety Code 6 as the agency in charge with protecting the health and safety of Canadians. Health Canada has established and maintained these limits. It incorporates a wide safety margin and is therefore far below the threshold for adverse health effects. Health Canada Safety Code 6, apologize. Exposure limits for Safety Code 6 are based on the ongoing review of published scientific studies, including both internal and external authoritative reviews of scientific literature, as well as Health Canada's own research. And it's comparable to the majority of other jurisdictions like the European Union, United States, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, to name a few. ISID does not consider the validity of Safety Code 6 a relevant concern in the public consultation process because Health Canada is the agency determining these limits. But even though it's not supposed to be relevant for the concern or for comments during these public consultations, we do try to provide some information on it. A little background information for these sites to provide the radio equipment to talk to everyone's devices. We use directional antennas. They're very similar to a light bulb, where the main concentration of the energy is out in front of it. And these are installed at the top of the tower to try to get the maximum coverage of the area. There's just a minor amount of energy that comes down the sides or below, as well as the back of the antenna. So this is just to demonstrate that the antennas are pointed, away, and that the energy levels down below the cell sites are very low. Now, what are wavelengths? So wavelengths are non-ionizing radiation. Or wavelengths, there's two different forms of it. There's ionizing and non-ionizing. Ionizing radio frequencies have higher frequency, shorter wavelengths. They carry more energy, and they have the energy that can break down molecular bonds, leading to damage, such as in biological tissue, sunburns, or damage to DNA. Non-ionizing, which is what cell phone carriers use to broadcast their signals, it's the lower frequency with a longer wavelength. And what this does is it carries less energy, and it doesn't have enough energy to break down molecular bonds. So what creates an electromagnetic frequency? Anything that uses electricity, such as your TV, microwave oven, your Wi-Fi at home, any of these devices creates an electromagnetic frequency. Now, it's important to know how the signal travels when it's emitted from an antenna, and it's bounded by a law called the inverse square law, where the signal strength decreases almost exponentially due to the distance. So when you double the distance, the strength is a quarter. When you're 10 times the distance, strength is 1/100. What this kind of demonstrates is that the further away you are from a cell site, the energy level dissipates very, very quickly. Now, what we can do to try to reassure, residents if there are any health concerns is to complete a Safety Code 6 analysis for the tower, which we did. And this first image here shows the red area there. That is where the levels are above what the Safety Code 6 limits are. So where it's above is just very high up on the tower in front of the antennas, a limited weight. The next slide here shows what the allowable limits are at 50%. So the signal would have diminished 50% by that time. And the last image is 10%. So let's say a resident who would be nearly 300 meters away at ground level would be at 0.4% of the allowable limit. So there's a lot of information there to kind of show how quickly the signal degrades. It's one thing to, you know, for me to try to come up and explain how it works and how it diminishes so quickly. But with the safety code 6 images, you know, we can visually show this is at 100%, 50%, 10%. So if you're 300 meters away, you're at 0.4% allowable limit, which is very, very low. It'll continue decreasing the further away you are. At the public meeting, we did include these slides as well as a handout where there's a whole bunch of different websites if anyone's interested in going to look at more information. And if there's any questions or concerns from council, I'm here to answer them tonight. But we believe that this proposed tower is much needed to infill coverage between Keckabek Falls, Murillo, and Roslyn, and happy to answer any question.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions of council? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. And through the chair, just wondering if we had a comparison for the height of the tower to the one on John Street or the one in Murillo behind Crestview School, what would be the comparison, or do you have an idea as to how high those towers are?
So those towers, Keckabeka Falls, I believe, is about 35 meters tall. And I think the one in Murillo is similar. I had height on one of the slides. So yeah, Keckabeka Falls shows that the 35-meter monopole. And then the one in Murillo, it's listed as 35 meters lattice tripole, but I believe it's a pretty light duty tower and it may be a little bit shorter than 35. So what we're looking at is a 80-meter tower.
Any other questions? None? Pardon? Pretty close. I think I'm still a little bit in the red area, but I stand outside. I probably will have cell service. I'm on River Road in Stanley, so there's still got red blotches around there, but that's okay. And everything new, better is better. No further questions? Well, I thank you very much, Mr. Lewis, for coming this afternoon or this evening and giving us a presentation. And I'm sure that we'll get a report from our planner in the near future.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, we now have, for the next item, we have a resolution moved and seconded approving the minutes held on the council meeting held on January 3rd, 2024. Were there any errors or omissions? Page 44 to 64. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you again. The library budget was not as was submitted when the budget was approved, the 2024 budget approval, item H, 6H. So I'm just wondered how that would be. There's a minimal difference from the budget that was submitted as opposed to the budget that was approved in our budget book, but just wanted to be sure that that was taken into consideration.
I believe it was mentioned at the last meeting as well. So
Okay, and the other question that I had was item I, with regard to the unopened boundary road allowance. I did watch the meeting again last night. It was my understanding that there was to be further discussion in a third party with regard to a third party agreement with Nebing. And I just don't see it mentioned there. It's just that, you know, the director of operations had responded to the question. So I was just wondering, was that what was supposed to happen? Was that there would be a discussion with Nebing as well as the applicant? or the owner of the property rather?
I believe that was what was talked about, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any errors or omissions? Yes, there is none. The motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on those minutes? Councillor Viss.
Yes, on the deputation for A, Mayor Vice Deputy Administration will be contacting them following the discussion by council. That doesn't follow through.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other discussion on those minutes? None. We now have a report from our bylaw enforcement officer. Larry is here this evening. The report is on page 65. Is there any questions in regards to that report? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just wondering, the bank deposits to Kakabeka, was that for the LRPB?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Larry, was there anything you would like to bring to our attention?
Number 5, the sounds of gunshot, plane lives on, Oliver Road, just west of, Mud Lake, which isn't a restricted, firearms location, but, people that I've talked to said it's not hunting season. I don't know because I don't hunt. I told the lady that sometimes, a person that operates an agricultural farm and his livestock, his or her livestock are in danger from wolves and stuff, they can use firearms to take care of the matter. I spoke to a couple of the neighbors around the complainant. A couple of them heard the gunshots, a couple didn't, I was unable to determine actually where they came from, so.
Okay. Councillor Viss?
Just one question on the number 4, the zoning issue ongoing. Do you, I forget here what we're doing there.
On River Road, there was a little structure on the property there. I talked to the CBO in regards to it. I talked to the manager of planning in regards to our zoning bylaw in regards to it. Through conversation with the planning manager, in my opinion, it didn't meet the requirements of section 6 of our zoning bylaw. There was a couple of things, one being the square footage, and also if it had wheels underneath, it would have been classified as a mobile home, which is not a permitted issue. I spoke to the property owner as well as her husband, and basically said to them just what I had said now. And the bottom line was, where's your building permit? And he didn't have one. Said he was waiting for the CAO to get back to him in regard to a meeting that had taken place the year prior. I spoke to the CAO and he informed me about the meeting that they had, but there was nothing in that meeting would indicate that the bylaw would have been changed to accommodate that size of the structure. So I spoke with the CBO in regards to that. He said he will take a ride by and I wanted his opinion on it, which he did. And the following week I spoke to the planner again, and apparently the CBO issued an order to the property owner in regards to the removal of that structures.
Any other questions from? Okay, thank you very much, Larry. Same to you. Next item is the fire and emergency services, page 66 to 75. Is there any questions of the fire chief in regards to their meeting minutes? As there is none, Sean, do you have anything to bring forward to us?
I'll just mention that we did have another structure fire on Sunday that as a result, the structure's been lost.
That is too bad. No one was hurt?
Nobody was hurt. owners or firefighters, but apparently a passerby noticed the smoke and ended up waking up the owner and getting them out before it got into the house, so that's a good thing.
It's very good, yes. Thank you. All righty. The next item we have is the building department. We have a one-page report for January. There has been one building permit issued, I see, in January. Any questions about the building report? As the Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. And through the chair, I'd like to see for 2024, the building permit, like the numbers all on there. If there's an issue where the building permit is pending or canceled, could it be indicated on the report? Because there were a number of them that were missed last year that when speaking with the CAO, it'll be followed up in February. They'll be in our report for February, but I would just like to see the numbering all on the report. And then, like I say, if it's a pending or canceled, it could be noted on our report. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Monthly planning report. We have a monthly planning report from the planner, page 77 to 78. We have some applications here, and this happens once or twice a year where our meeting is after the Committee of Adjustment meeting. So I'll just let the planner go through each one.
Okay, thank
Please.
you. Yeah, so typically we do try and get the applications before council in the last meeting of the month so that there's time for them to review and provide comment. As you said, a couple times a year, we can't meet that deadline. It's a 14-day notice period requirement prior to a meeting. And in this case, because there were 4 applications and we were working with the applicants to update and make changes, we couldn't meet the deadline to get into the council package. So application 1B01 was for a lot addition at 4026 Oliver Road. That was approved with the usual conditions. 1B02 was for a new lot on the abattoir property at 4754 Oliver Road. That was also approved with the usual conditions, as well as a condition with a rezoning requirement since that property is light industrial. 1B03 was another lot addition. This is up where the Brant property will be. They had done zoning amendments in 2023 at the beginning of the year. So this is a follow-up to that where they do require additional land. That was approved with normal conditions. And the 4th application was a new lot after the lot addition. Up at 4553 Town Line Road, where the lot addition allowed for a severance to create a new lot. Approved with the usual conditions. And of note, 1B0124 and 1B0424 were both applications that were before the committee and approved in 2016 but lapsed.
So those 2 are lapsed ones. Okay, any questions of the planner on any of these? Councillor Campbell?
I know it wouldn't afford us the opportunity to comment from council, but would it be possible if we have an occurrence like happened this month where we're going to miss being able to comment on them just because of the timing? Could the information for these applications be sent to council members?
I can provide them to Judy, certainly, yeah.
Okay.
There's also, we're in the objection period. So if council had concerns or something with an application, they could submit them during that,
Okay.
the 20-day period.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Viss.
Yeah. May just, and like it's after the fact, but the thing, when I looked at some of these, 1B0224, there's a number of lots off on the Bailey Road off that property already. So I assume that was before the proper date or so on. And that's again, the same way on the corner of Oliver Road and Town Line. There, I know at least 1, 2, 3, 4 off that. So I assume, you see that? And yeah, it's, we can't even hardly make a comment anymore, but I just wondered, like, you know, how important it is that we do get that information to you for our questions. So, but do you look at all them and they're all before the proper
Absolutely.
date and all that?
Yep.
Okay, that's all.
All righty, okay. Was there anything further from the planning department at this time?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Thank you. On on page 78, it says that there's an internal review of the zoning bylaw. Just wondering, once council reviews it, will there be a public meeting?
Any changes to the zoning bylaw require a public meeting.
Okay, and I also agree with Councillor Campoff. I'd appreciate seeing those applications as well. Thank you.
okay, perfect. We now go to the pavilion and event facility and bus shelter at the Oliver Papoonch Historical Park. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. The resolution basically gives them the opportunity to explore the feasibility of the pavilion. Any further, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a resolution that's been moved and seconded in regards to the Northwestern Ontario Trail proposal. And there's 6 options that's been presented to us from page 81 to 104 by administration. Yeah, I don't quite know how you want to deal with it. Do you want to discuss each option, or do you want to just give it yourself a opportunity to make comment, and then we'll put something in there for a vote? Councillor Viss?
I'll start it off. Again, when I read through all the correspondence so on, I keep thinking back of the original when we started and we got our lawyer involved to give us their opinion legally where we're at, and having that bridge, if we do any work, will that require a separate walkway beside it? We don't know that for sure. Luckin Road is so narrow. Are we going to widen that for all the walkway? So I have to go with option 6 because our lawyer really recommends the liability is fairly high for the municipality under the prescribed roads that they project to use.
Thank you. Councillor Campoff?
I would take a different opinion than Councillor Viss, which is okay. So the way I read everything, it looks like we have, I mean, we certainly aren't expecting a huge increase in people using the corridor as a trail. We already have access to the public on all of these public roads. Our neighbors have approved the use of their roads for the same trail. And I think in reading through the concerns from our lawyer and from the insurance company, nothing jumps out at me that's a big concern. So I think it would be reasonable to take option number 1 and move ahead with it. And I mean, if anything, going with option number 1 and approving the route offers us the opportunity to increase signage, increase some public relations around the use of that corridor as a trail, which will only improve safety potentially.
Any comment from any of the other councillors? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Do we have the definite decision from the city of Thunder Bay? It doesn't really identify that, so.
Doesn't have anything to do with this.
Because I was just wondering, like, if the trail just ends at Broadway, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And I do share the concern with regard to Hearthstone Bridge, because that decision is going to have to be made from the asset management report that we had. That decision of possibly $10 million to replace that bridge won't be made by this council at the present time anyways, as far as the projection of when that will be further discussed. It's going to be with the next council. So do we burden the next council with having to possibly have increased cost for the bridge? Should we need to put a walking trailer or a side path on the bridge itself?
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Viss?
Yes, if I may just go a little further on to come back to Mr. Campoff, and I understand what he's saying, but I've had a lifetime almost experience of living, having the property cut in pieces by the old Grand Trunk Railway. And we had over all those years had given us tremendous amount of trouble. They break fences, they run over your fields. They, as a matter of fact, if you really want to come down, one young man lost his life in our farm because he came down the Grand Trunk and made the wrong turn. And so it takes only 2 or 1 person out of 1,000, but the liability is just unreal. And so my personal experience living on something that is owned by us, but it's there. And we have to put up with that miserable stuff year after year after year. You have the summer, you have horses, you have side by side, you have quads, in the wintertime, you have snowmobiles and all that kind of stuff. So I've lived with it for a long time, and it is difficult at times, and makes me somewhat nervous. I don't know how many people be going up and down these roads, assessing other's property. So that's, you can see where I'm coming from.
Councillor Calvert? Oh, did you have a comment? No?
I'm certainly not trying to minimize the experience of Councillor Viss, but the reality is with this proposal, it's on public roads. So the reality is we're certainly not anticipating a huge change in the use. I guess it does encourage a little bit of people to use these particular roads if they're trying to follow this trail network. But there's a benefit from actually having it formally designated a trail, because we do have the option to have better signage. We have the option to have, I mean, the people that would be using this as a trail, I would anticipate, certainly, I think it would be reasonable to anticipate that they would be responsible users of the trail. I mean, right now, all of these are public roads. We certainly have the potential for people to do bad things on the roads right now. This doesn't, in my opinion, increase that potential at all. It only looks at increasing uses for people that are using it as a trail, who would be the kind of people and the kind of uses that would be a responsible way to travel on the road. So, and in reading through the reports, I don't see anything outside of that. So I still think it would be reasonable for us to approve the use of these roads as a trail.
Okay, my comment is I would like to go with option 6 for the following reason. The insurance company has told us that we're going to be seeing an increased amount of liability. We have a lot of people that use all of those roads. I happen to live on an adjacent road. There's lots of people walking, biking, whatever on the roads, on the edges of the roads. Hearthstone Road, Luckens Road have no shoulders, very little shoulder. They're just a road. Right now, people are using them, and that's fine. It's fine. They're walking, they're biking, they're whatever they're doing. It's absolutely okay. The minute you put the word trail on there and you put a sign that says trail, we are now responsible to make sure that that is kept clean and clear and walkable. And if someone gets hurt, they're going to look at us and say the trail was not up to standard, and we are putting that liability on our taxpayer. Our insurance company has said, don't do it. If we do it, we are going against our insurance company. Therefore, we will be liable for that accident if they charge us, or for someone should get hurt. And I do not want to see that liability put on our taxpayers. And so I cannot vote for anything but option 6.
That's kind of my thing too. Like, as it stands now, people use those roads and not freely as they go, come and go. Like, and there's nothing saying trail or anything, so they're just using them as they are, and there's really, you know, we haven't designated nothing, so they're just being used openly, so it's I don't see any difference to carry on as it is. They use them for, you know, cycling and every other thing. All our roads actually are quite, you know, and it can get pretty congested. So
that's just
my
my
concern.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Has the trail organization actually identified what they need to have the trail look like? Or is it just a matter of them putting signage up? And does the Director of Operations have a concern with regard to
Mhm.
use of those roads?
About that, do they just put up signs or do they tell us what kind of roads to put, trails to put there?
In the report, they say what they would do. I think it's a matter of putting up signage and so forth.
Mhm. So I'm going to jump in with both feet and put forth the resolution that's been moved and seconded on option 6 and bring it to a vote. And because we could sit here and talk about this all evening, we have to have something to vote on. We don't have anything at the present time. So the resolution's been moved and seconded. I don't know who the mover and seconder are.
Probably me now.
Alan Biss and Brian Talbert.
Of course, these three gentlemen here, so I'm going to put an X beside option 6 if you are agreeable to that, since you moved and seconded. So it's open again. Now it's been moved and seconded again. It's open for discussion before we have a vote. Okay, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we have the progress, the NOHFC grant progress update from our Director of Operations Department. Is there any questions in regards to that update? Oh, sorry, Wayne.
I just wanted to mention that there's an error in this report.
Okay.
If you look at the last sentence on page 105, the amount remaining, that second figure shouldn't be 82,239.31. It's supposed to be 42,239.31. Now, when you look at the table above, you see there's the total grant remaining of approved expenditures is what it really means, 451,339.83. And then when you take off the things that are coming up, 181,522, you get $269,817.83 left in approved expenditures. So that figure below is incorrect, but the tables have the right information.
Any discussion? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I believe that the other figure needs to be reviewed as well, because when I add up the projects from the balance that's remaining, I come up with 245,578.52. So please correct me if I'm incorrect, if I'm not reading that properly. One other thing that I found was that the compressor head rebuilds of 44,000 for the Norwest. When the estimate came through with regard to the grants, the estimate approved for the compressor heads was 24,545. When I look in the agenda, when I look in the approved budget, the compressor heads aren't in the budget. So I'm not sure if we're looking for 44,000, 24,000, or where it is defined it in the budget, because it isn't a line item in it.
Perhaps it's under another category?
Should be under Norwest.
Wayne?
I think in the budget, there's just a line item for doing the arena job. It's a bulk
Total?
number.
In total?
I think so.
Okay. Under capital? Okay. No, it's got us on. Righty? Yes.
So the intent of the report is just to show that the grants are underspent to the tune of approximately 270,000. And then on page 106, what administration is saying with this money, we'll be taking a look at some other jobs related to this activity that, you know, has to be recreation of some sort, that could be things that we could propose to NOHFC.
Mhm.
And then we have to get approval from them to be able to use the monies on other types of projects. There could be some, and I believe there are a few projects in our asset management plan with the halls and the arena that are upcoming. We could apply some of that money there, or there may be some other projects that would be worthwhile doing, but we would need to identify those and bring them forward to council before we ask the NHFC if we're going to do it.
Further to that, there is work yet to be completed that we started last year as well. So those were internal costs with our staff. So then there will be some additional materials to get the existing projects we've started, get them underway and finish this year.
Yes.
Just one, is there a timeline to use this money, Craig?
Through the chair, the contract completion, we have to give interim progress dates to them. And the bottom line expended, I believe, is April 15th, 2025.
Okay. Yes, John? No, go ahead.
To address Councillor Peacock's question regarding the compressor head rebuilds. There is not a specific item for it in the Norwest Arena capital budget for 2024. However, in the general recreation budget, lines account number 7154 is NOHFC TBA for 57,166.
That's the whole grant.
To use unplanned expenditures going forward to use the balance of funds.
Right. Okay.
Would be available to cover those costs.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you again. Just wondering if it's possible that if we don't use the balance of the grant available for the Norwest, then would we still need to withdraw $47,500 from the working reserves?
Only our Councillor Chris.
Councillor Chris?
Through the chair, it's our best intent to get 3-for-1 funding for all projects. And then as you can see, some of the one arena budget is over and some of the community services is under. Those are the discussions we're having with NOHFC to maximize our $3-to-$1 component and still not exceed the total expense as budgeted by the council in 2023.
But if the funds are not all spent, then our portion does not get spent either. Yes.
Thank you again, but when I look in the, I don't mean to be argumentative, but when I look in the NOHFC TBA in general recreation, there's nothing in the budget for 2024. So it doesn't say it's being carried over. So anyways, I'll leave it for administration to sort out. Thank you.
Through the chair, as discussed at our budget meeting, the jobs that are going to be carry over are dollar values after this report will be reported in the budget because it's 3-for-1, not tax related. It was pre-committed funds. We balanced this budget. We balanced the NOHFC expenditures based on the grants that we got. The NOHFC grants that we got were 20 to 22% overinflated from our actual estimates that we provided in 2023. And I draw your attention to report 171/2023, which explain this. When the budget books come out, the projects left to do for this NOHFC grant work, the dollars will be clarified based on the dollars that were assigned in 2023 capital taxes raised.
Right. Okay, thank you. Okay. All righty, we now have a report, page 107, in regards to the LRMC Fire Services meeting, which is a meeting that I am requesting all councillors and the CAO, and the councillors and our fire chief attend. we had discussed at our last LRMC meeting, the fact that the province had discontinued having a representative attend every council in regards to fire services. And so since that didn't seem to be working, we thought, well, LRMC could get someone from the ministry to come and speak to us. Well, that makes no sense because that's heads of councils in the CAO. That still does not get the information to the whole council, which is in some cases the problem that we're having in some areas. So I call as chair of the LRMC, I called this meeting on February the 20th at the Roslyn Community Center from 6 to 9 p.m. And I'm asking our council and the fire chief and myself will be chairing the meeting, and the CAO will be there as well. And we have sent that same invitation to the other 5 municipalities. Not sure about Shunya since they are a little ways away from us, but we still have all the same problems. And therefore, this was just an opportunity to discuss the problems that all the fire departments are having. And we also sent an invitation to the ministry, and I received notification they will not be attending. So, and that was not to put them at the front of the table for, being questioned, but to sit in the back of the room and listen to our concerns. They decided at this time they would not do that, which is fine. And so I am asking you, if you can, please attend, because whatever comes out, I would prefer that all counselors of all 5 or 4 municipalities hear all the information at the same time. So this is what the invitation. Is there something more you wanted to add, Sean?
No, I think that's it. I have put a notice out to all the fire chiefs to try and talk before the meeting, but that's basically it.
As I indicated when I sent the letter through the LRMC, this wasn't a time to complain about the fact that the ministry is having us do this, that, or whatever. That time is over. We have to do it. Now let's see how we can do it together or apart, and let's see if we can work together for the betterment of everyone. So, okay. Yes.
I'd like to attend because I think it's a very important thing the way
Yeah.
that has been going in the last little while, but it's the responsibility in our fire department to just help. I think we need to be able to
Discuss it amongst each other. Yes.
that. I think it's a good thing.
So I hope you can attend.
So,
Okay. The next one we have is the museum board vacancy. There is a vacancy on the museum board since unfortunately Russ has passed on. We do have or have received an email from Mark, who was on the board previously, and she has indicated that she has an interest in serving on the board again. So the question is, we have a resolution to put an advertisement in the newsletter or on the website, Facebook, so on. It's been moved and seconded, but now that we've received this request, is the council considering just asking her to come back, or your thoughts? This is what's out right now for you. Councillor Viss?
Sure, I'll start it off. With the board that we have in place now, they're very aggressive, and you heard them again today. The sooner we get someone on, the better it is. And this lady does have some experience from being on that board, that may be to our advantage rather than wait another month, because they have monthly meetings now, because especially now they're going to try and move along, see where they're at. So I'd have no problem accepting this one, and that's just my own opinion.
Thank you, because you were on the board at the time she was on there as well, so. Any further discussion? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Would it be an issue if it didn't get advertised? No?
No, we can appoint anyone to any board. I guess unless they're a criminal. Who knows, that might be illegal too. We might have to put them on too. Did you put your hand up there, John?
Well, you put the criminal, but I had to take it back.
I know. So, okay, so we have a resolution about, it's been moved and seconded in regards to the advertisement. Could we have a resolution appointing Marge Schweitzer? And we'd ask the same mover and seconder if they're okay with that, which is Councillor Calvert and Councillor Viss.
Yes.
All righty. So the resolution has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, oops, sorry.
To be sure what we've got here. With respect to report 2024.28, we recommend appointing Mark Schweitzer to the museum board.
Thank you. For the remainder of the term, sorry, thank you. For the remainder of the term. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a schedule of fees for Freedom of Information requests, page 109 to 111. The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this, on these fees or this resolution? Councillor Campoff.
Just curious what our fees were previously. To me, looking at these numbers, they look really low. Like, I don't think we have anybody that can work as cheap as we're charging these fees.
Yes.
Previously, we didn't have a bylaw that specified all of this. And the fees are low, but they are what's in the regulation, so you cannot do more than what they allow you to do.
These are the provincial regulations. So, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. I note on here, it said CD-ROMs, but when speaking with Wayne yesterday with regard to that, because I don't think we have that capability anymore, or very few do. It's usually SD cards or something, but it is part of the regulations. That's what their regs say. So, but out of curiosity, how long, yes, how long are the videos of our meetings available to the public?
Right now, they're on indefinitely.
Okay. Councillor Campoff.
Yeah, so certainly just a little bit of an aside to that conversation. There isn't a requirement for us to be recording these meetings and keeping them in access to anybody anyways, so.
We have a policy in the works to put some guidance on that. We may want to destroy them after a certain amount of time.
From my usage of YouTube or whatever, after a little while, they all disappear anyway. If they kept everything on there, it would be overflowing. So they naturally disappear. Okay, so we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor, opposed, carried. The next item is a resolution that's been moved and seconded in regards to the municipal office renovations, which was part of our budget 21 and 22 and is going to be carried forward in done in 2024. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the resolution? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. When we had the budget talks, I had asked at that time where this person was going to be, where the money was coming from for a computer, a desk, etc. That wasn't addressed at the time. Now with the, now they're looking at having it coming out of administration, because I understand we had this money set aside in two separate years, 21 and 22, and nothing had transpired for the renovation at the back office. With the value that was put in the budget for the clerk of the works under general maintenance, it was $59,359. Is that just wages and benefits, or was that to include some of the necessary requirements to have this office up and running? Because this person, I don't know when they'll start, but we're probably 3 months in yet, and
wages would be under wages. They're not under repairs and maintenance.
Sorry, in the budget shows clerk of the works under general maintenance, and it shows 59,390.
That is the wages and benefits for the person, assuming a full year. However, as you say, the person will be starting later, so their actual wages will be lower.
Okay, so sorry.
Through the chair, it was listed as a capital item for ease of discussion without having to open up the benefits and salaries in the event that it wasn't passed.
Okay.
So it was put as a one-off with wages and salary and overhead. As far as the renovations during COVID, we didn't do anything. We weren't working in the office for some of it. It was reserve supported in 21 and 22. It was dropped in 23. and now we're back. It can either come out of reserves or it can be used to the 10,000 that's in the annual requirement for this office.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have reports of committees, which is the Thunder Bay District Health Unit minutes, the Lake Regional Conservation Authority minutes, and the Thunder Bay District Social Services Administration Board minutes. 2 minutes, I believe, there. For your information, bylaws, the schedule of fees, freedom of information requests. It has been moved and seconded, this bylaw. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a list of items that we have received previously, and some of the new items that we now have begin on page 140. The first one is the flashing lights on stop signs in highway construction zones. Shunya has passed this resolution requesting flashing lights on stop signs in highway construction zones. Is it your Councillor Calvert?
I'm looking for support in this because that's brought up in the municipal league too as well, and there as a very good thing to have.
Okay. So we will bring it back at our next meeting and it will come up for a vote at that time. Thank you. Provincial and national firefighting strategy. They would like to have additional funds for cost sharing provincial firefighting and the development of a national strategy for firefighting. Yes, Councillor Peacock. Thank you.
Just wondering if, would the fire chief have a comment with regard to this? And further, with the lack of helicopters to fight fires and an issue that's further on in the agenda, I think we should perhaps support this.
Yes, I agree. This is specific to wildfire fighting. And nationally and even internationally, it's turning into an issue with wildfires all over the place. So I think some support for this would be good.
For funding. Okay, it'll come back to us at our next meeting then, please. And the last one's reliable and accessible public rail transit. Not here. Well, maybe they can put in the lines again. So we won't worry about that one. For information only, Highway 588, the MTO project. There's a plan to rehabilitate Highway 588. And we also additionally have on our sheet table a letter in regards to the bridge. They're going to commence working on that very shortly to complete the second part of the bridge in Highway 588 in Stanley. We have a copy of the Roma Fill the Gaps release and programmer for the Roma 2024 Closer to Home Convention. We have the reforms to international student program. Enbridge Gas 2024 debasing application. Roma conference, a letter from the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and the AMO policy update. We also have an AMO education municipal codes of conduct, the Indigenous Games on March the 1st at the Arena, and the 2024 NOMA conference and annual general meeting. Is there any of those that would like to have brought forward? I would have received an email requesting that I be part of the Indigenous program that night. I'm asking your permission on behalf of council to attend that to represent the municipality. Okay. Pardon? I don't know. I don't know who it is that night. That's a whole month away. This is they have this once a year. They have the Indigenous persons there as well. So I represent the municipality. Yes. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Would the AMO policy update be something that we should be considering? Because they're asking to pass a council resolution at your next meeting to call for the province to commit to review this upcoming provincial budget. And the municipal code of conduct meeting, that virtual meeting is the same day that we have our council meeting. So that one's not going to work. And
Well,
with,
yeah, that's a course.
yes,
Yes.
but we meet at that time, so it's not going to work for us. And as far as NOMA, because I'm not able to attend the Thunder Bay District Health Unit meeting, I would like to be registered for NOMA, please.
Okay, we just get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Was there, you had brought something
I'm
about.
sorry, AMO, yes,
About AMO?
page 156, yep.
Mhm. In regards to the policy update. Oh, they had a pre-judgment, pre-budget submission in January.
Okay.
That's already happened.
It's happened already, okay.
Okay.
I wondered when it was dated January 25th.
Yeah, that's
okay.
happened already. So, okay, we have the NOMA conference, which will be held at the Victoria Inn, April 24th, 25th, and 26th. We have to ask who of the members would like to attend. So Councillor Peacock would like to attend. Yes. Councillor Viss, Councillor Campoff, and Councillor Calvert. I will not. That's income tax time. The end of the month of April. I will not. And are you planning to attend? No? Okay. So we have a resolution moved and seconded that the 4 councillors of the municipality will be attending the NOMA conference and an annual general meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a resolution moved and seconded to new business. Councillor Kempoff.
I will be missing.
Mhm. Thank you. Councillor Calvert.
Nothing new. Back on script, so.
You haven't- You're happy to be back, but you're back.
Yeah.
Councillor Viss?
Yes, I have one issue that I think we need to be a little bit more careful on what we do, and that is when we send a notice or information is sent out to the residents or the public, it must be completely accurate. If it is not, it's a bad reflection, not only on the writer, but also on all the council. So let me give you an example. In the February, Oliver New Proposed News issue a article submitted by Mayor Lucy Klusterhuis, and it says approval of the term project and process for the remainder of the term of council. I bring you back to the minutes of December the 12th, where it said, with respect to report 23 to 13, we recommend the list of project and process attached to the resolution for the council term be approved. It was deferred. And those minutes were again approved on January the 9th in 2024 as correct. So I believe that should be corrected. That was not approved. That needs to be out there, because you see, when we do, and you've heard me on this, when we accept plans, it attaches a lot of dollars and time. Every time we put a plan in place, we're asking staff to put time in it. They're telling us they haven't got the time to do what we're doing now. So we've got to be careful on how many plans we're starting to pass. We're passing, it looks so easy, and it's so easy, just pass the plan. But the detail of it, you put that all onus on here, and they don't have the time to do it now. So anyway, that should be corrected, because to that project, there's a number of dollars involved in that, and that's why it was deferred.
Okay.
So I think, Mayor Lucy, if you could correct
could
that, I
do
would
that.
appreciate it.
Just to be noted, I passed that around before I put it in the newsletter, so we all missed the word deferred. I will correct that for
Thank you. That's all I have.
Nothing else? Councillor Peacock.
Thank you again. Just wondering, will there be the possibility of having earlier restrictions for half loads?
In consultation with the municipalities, we're coming up with a plan.
Thank you. I did have a question, and I emailed the councillors as well as administration with regard to hauling of material from from a site, and just wondered if that was legal or what the requirements were. It's with regard to the development on Cooper Road. There were a number of trucks being hauled out of there.
I believe there was an email sent back to all of us explaining that. So that's the answer.
All right, because the CAO asked me to bring it up at the
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah,
so.
that was clarified that.
Okay, I did get the email with regard to the transfer switch not being tested until the spring. The, and will we receive anything with regard to the damage to the sign? Or will that just be internal?
That's internal. That's
Okay.
operational.
Thank you.
They'll fix it.
Each of us got an invitation for a workshop, a virtual workshop tomorrow morning, with MoMA. They're looking for one elected and one staff member from each municipality, so,
The CEO and myself are attending.
okay,
Okay.
all right, yep, thank
It's
you
a
very much.
virtual meeting.
Yep, for sure. And I would like to see the proper tracking of the council initiatives so that you can see the, whether it be the value, dollar value or time allocated for the donations that we give to different organizations. A paper trail, proper paper trail, please and thank you. And that's all.
Okay. Alrighty, we now have a resolution moved in second to resolve to close session, the time being 6:26 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will have a 5-minute break. We have a resolution that the minutes of the closed session meeting held on January the 31st be approved as submitted. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution in regards to, it doesn't have it in here. Can you read it, please?
Did you have that little red stuff there?
But it's only got one line.
Oh,
As it's in the report.
Okay, vesting the undevelopable property on Roslyn Road.
I'll just read out the resolution from the closed session. That with respect to report 2024.08 CS, we recommend the vesting of the property on Roslyn Road with roll number 5808-080-001-11115 be approved and that the necessary bylaw be presented for ratification.
Okay, the resolution's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the bylaw for the same property to authorize this vesting of the Roslyn Road property. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a resolution moved and seconded confirming the meeting of this evening. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a resolution moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting at 6:53 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Nobody ever opposes.